Good morning, church. It's such a joy to connect with you in this way. I'm so delighted to share what God has laid in my heart. In my previous devotion, I was talking about what God thinks about you from 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, which talks about you are a chosen generation, you are a royal priesthood, you are a holy nation, and you belong to God. So what God thinks about you is more important than people. And this day, I want to share with you from 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." As I was growing up, my parents thought that I will be a sports star. My teachers thought I will be an office boy. My friends thought I will do like a chota mota, maybe a small kind of a job. But what God saw in me was completely different. So what God sees matters, not what people see does not matter. Now, even as we look into this chapter, David's father thought that he was a shepherd boy. Now his brothers thought that he was the weakest brother among all. But God saw him as a potential king of Israel. What matters is what God sees in you. People might think that you are just a small guy, or people might think that you can become a manager. Maybe God is looking at you that one day you will be a CEO of a company. One day you will be a champion. One day you will be a sports star. So do not worry what people sees in you. What matters is what God sees in you. Even if you look into Genesis chapter 37, we see Joseph. Now, Joseph's father saw him as the finest son among everyone. But Joseph's brother saw him as an enemy to all of them. The Midianite merchant saw him as a potential slave. The prisoners saw him as the criminals among everyone. The Potiphar's wife saw him as a potential boyfriend for him. But God saw him as a potential prime minister of Egypt. So what God sees matters. Do not get discouraged about people. Do not get discouraged about what people see in you. People might see you as a failure. People might see you as a normal person. People might see you as you are good for nothing. Do not get worried. Do not get discouraged. But what matters is what God sees in you. Who knows? Saul who turned to be Paul. Now Paul was a persecutor. Before he could become a Paul, he was persecuting people left, right, center. He was on a march, he was on a rampage of destroying Christians. But people saw him as a persecutor, but God saw him as a potential man of God, an apostle of God who wrote so many books in the New Testament. What God sees matters. My friends, I would encourage you, do not worry about what world thinks about you, what world sees in you. All that matters to you and to me is what God sees us, what God thinks about us. But what God sees in you is amazing. Because I believe that God has a greater plans for you, a greater things in store for you. In the coming days, probably you might be the CEO of a company. Maybe you might be the sports star. That's what God is seeing you. Because Bible says that you will be the head, not the tail. Because I believe that God has greater things in store for each one of us. So do not get carried away what world thinks about you, what world sees in you. Because what matters to us is what God sees in us. My friends, I just want to encourage you, do not worry. God is more important for us. As long as you are in God, as long as you are in a relationship with God, as long as you are connected with God, by reading this word, by doing what God wanted you to do, God has greater plans for you. Because Bible says that I have great things in store for you. So do not worry about what people thinks, what people sees in you. What matters is what God sees in you. Now, if you look into Genesis, if you see in Noah's Ark, the tortoise and the horse had the same number of days to reach the destiny. So do not worry. As long as you are in God, you will reach the destiny. My friends, I would encourage you to just be in relationship with God. Do not give up by seeing the surroundings. Do not give up by seeing the situation that is not very great for you. But what matters to you is what God thinks about you, what God sees in you. Your walk with God, your praying, your lifestyle matters to God. How is your walk with God? How is your relationship with God? Because that's what God looks into you. As long as you are in right relationship with God, as long as your walk with God is great, is absolutely perfect, do not worry about anything, because God is in control of your life. All that matters is God and you. And what God thinks about you, what God sees in you matters, not people. I would encourage you, do not get carried away by the people, what they think about you. What matters to you is what God sees in you. I hope this word is a blessing to you. So I would encourage you to just close your eyes, and I want you to just pray and ask God's blessing upon you. Father, I just commit, Lord, this morning, and I just pray for your blessing, Lord, over everyone, Lord, especially, Lord, in the situation, Lord, probably they might be thinking that I might settle for smaller things. I might settle for small things in life. But Lord, we know that you have a great plans in store for each one of us, oh God. And I believe that, Lord, that you have a plans to prosper us, oh God, and give us a great future, God. And we want to thank you for this. I commit, Lord, everyone into your hands. We speak blessing over us, and Lord, over everyone who's listening to this message, oh God. We just give you glory. Bless them and bless their families, oh God. And I want to thank you for this time. We were able to connect in this way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Church, I want to say, greater things are in store for you. God bless. Have a blessed week.